Welcome back to Daily Wrap, everybody. I am Joe Concha, joined by Heather Hansen, Rick Unger, and Katie Keefer. Thanks again for being here. The White House, once again, dealing with another scandal involving the Veterans Affairs Office. If you're asking yourself, wait, hasn't this president already had one VA scandal? You would be correct. Former VA Secretary Eric Shinseki was replaced after high-level corruption at VA hospitals. We all remember that across the country after that was revealed. Now, former Procter & Gamble CEO Robert McDonald was then handpicked by the president to get the VA back on track. Well, here's the VA secretary on what would be, what would take a very, here's the VA Secretary McDonald on what it would take to fix a very broken system.
Do you happen to be a veteran of military service?
Yes.
Really?
Yes.
Army, Navy, Air
Army.
Army?
Yes,
What
sir.
unit?
Special Forces.
Special Forces. What years? I was in Special Forces.
Okay, so that is the secretary saying that he was in Special Forces. Problem was that he actually was not in Special Forces, and we're seeing a lot of that lately of people perhaps exaggerating their resumes of the past and obviously the consequences that go along with it. So to review, Mr. McDonald was a member of the Army in the 1970s. He never served in Special Forces. Realizing his error, he provided a sincere apology for the verbal misfire by issuing a very personal statement, and I quote, "While I was in Los Angeles engaging a homeless individual to determine his veteran status, I asked the man where he had served in the military. He responded that he had served in Special Forces. I incorrectly stated that I was in Special Forces, as we just heard. That was inaccurate, and I apologize to anyone that was offended by my misstatement." So Heather Hansen, NBC, basically fired Brian Williams for lying. Will we see the same thing from the White House? Should he be fired?
No, listen, to me, the issue where he said that he had fired 900 people and that may not be true is far more disturbing than this. The more important thing is, what does it mean to the vets? And some of the vets have come forward. In fact, one of them said he caught the fish, he just stretched it a bit. You know, I don't think that they think this is that big of a deal. I think that they're happy that he's bringing to mind the idea that he's talking to homeless veterans and the fact that that is such a problem. If he can get it together with regard to policies and fixing things, this is not the end of the world.
Rick, I wonder why he would lie in that situation. You're a former Procter & Gamble president, you run the VA. Why even go there?
He was trying to find a connection with the guy. It was a mistake, shouldn't have done it, no excusing it, not the end of the world. I'll tell you what, though, this is another in a string of examples where we're now going to spend a 24 or a 48-hour news cycle talking about something not important when we should be talking about, has he been successful at the VA? And I don't think he's been as successful as he should be at this point. So let's talk about the real issue, not the manufactured one.
Why don't you think he's been successful at this point?
Well, you'd have to ask him why he's lagging, but I don't like what I'm seeing. I think they should have come further. Heather's right. The statement he made on one of the Sunday shows about having fired 900 people wasn't exactly accurate. In fact, about half of those people were on probationary. First year, when you work for the VA, you're on probation. Doesn't count as being fired if they send you away from that. And that was about half the people.
Well, and just to add to that point, those are people who had nothing to do with the scandal if they've been there for less than a year. So when he gets on Meet the Press and says, I've fired 60 people for the waiting times, that's just not true.
That matters.
Okay.
That makes it
So
much
if you're
bigger.
adding it up then that is basically two lies,
I'm not sure
Katie.
I want to add them. But
And there is a difference between this man and his position and Brian Williams, who is not merely, but he is a journalist. He doesn't have oversight or input into policies or a budget, whereas this man does. And he is impacting real people's lives. And when we have so many young vets, especially going through PTSD and depression and losing their limbs on our behalf, it is important that this man is a man of integrity. And I have a cousin who is a ranger. And there's a difference between being a ranger and going through the training.
Right.
There's a big difference.
But it should be noted, though, it should be noted that Army Rangers do train with Special Forces.
Right.
Right.
And
so can that be
But now
a gray area?
Look what we're doing. We're now parsing. Is it this?
Semantics.
And the vets
Forget
don't
it,
care.
you know?
They
It's
don't
not that
care. They
important.
want help. They need help. They have a problem there. This is nothing to the majority of them. There are some on Facebook, but the American Legion, the different people, he has apologized. He's owned it. It was a mistake. That is less worrisome to me than not being honest about what he's doing as far as firing, what he's doing as far as fixing it. it and actually fixing
Let's
it.
keep the focus where it belongs. Is he succeeding at the VA? Is he not succeeding? Is he succeeding quickly enough? It is the biggest issue we have in this country. Nobody gets to call this an exceptional country, as we talked about last night. If we continue to break our promise to our veterans, it's not okay. That's what matters. Forget the distractions.
Well, and there has to be continuity. You know, we can't just keep switching people if we don't like something that they
Right.
say. Katie, I agree with you 100% that he has a position where it's not a journalist, but he actually has to put in policies, but he has to have time to do that. And he's been here, what, 7 months?
Yeah.
You know, that's not a lot of time
It's
to
enough time to do
undo.
something.
I agree, but not to undo a lot of what has been done.
It
And
just
so-
seems like there has to be so many other applicants out there that if he isn't going to show himself to be honest,
Well-
there's other people we could have in this
See,
position.
that's what I wonder about. If you get to a third so-called lie, right, with the number of people fired, and I was in special forces, and then there's another one.
It depends what it
then-
is. I
Yeah,
just
but,
don't
well-
think this is that big of a deal.
But integrity is important.
It
Integrity is
is, but
important no matter
people
who you
stretch
are. But when
sometimes.
you're in the public eye, it becomes even more important.
But like
because-
I said, anybody who's ever filled out a resume, you're going to sit here and tell me you didn't stretch a little bit.
Is
to
this
make
the
yourself
pattern
look
we're going to see,
better?
though? Going forward is clearly exposed. Do we automatically start saying you're fired?
That's
That's
just
it.
it. We've become fixated on this because of the Brian Williams thing, the Bill O'Reilly thing, which I think is another tempest in a teapot, and I'm not Bill O'Reilly's biggest fan. It's like, enough of this. It's become hip, it's
Well,
like
and-
drive-by shootings. When they become popular in LA, they keep happening. Enough of this. Stop with the distractions. Focus on the important issue.
Right. And it's interesting that it all has to do with military service. You know, there's this whole issue where people are trying to exaggerate their military service. At the end of the day, he is serving our veterans, and he's got to do it better. And that's where he needs to be fired if he doesn't get it
Okay,
together.
so let's set an example right now. Okay, Katie, it's a one-word answer. Did you ever serve in the military?
No, I haven't.
Rick?
No?
No.
I played Risk, and I was very good at it. You take
I don't know
Kamchatka.
if that
I was
would
gonna-
cut it.
could you take
I don't
Kamchatka?
know.
Yep,
Right.
you take Cyan. You take the game, my friend.
That's
No
it.
question about it.
That's
See,
it.
we're setting examples here on
Telling
the.
the truth.
My favorite board game.
Oh, absolutely.
It is, by far. I love
kills
it.
Payday.
Yeah, oh yeah.
No question
Hey,
about
hey.
it.
And life.
Come on,
the-
Battleship?
Nah, not even close to Risk. Risk
Not,
is
not
the
big on
game.
Battleship. Monopoly always took too long, quite
Monopoly,
frankly.
yeah.
And
Right.
you lose the
Monopoly.
money, and nah.
What was the best property on in Monopoly?
Park Ave,
Actually,
right?
Park Ave was probably the best.
Park Ave is
At
our
the
final
hotels?
answer.
Yeah.
Anyway, coming up next on the raft, Reverend Al Sharpton is feeling some heat from someone you wouldn't expect. Ooh, what a tease. Find out who. This is the Daily Max only on Newsmax TV.